I'm joined by military expert Justin Crump, who's the Chief Executive of Civil Line and British military veteran. Great to have you here, Justin. We've obviously seen there that escalation going on. Just bring us up to date with the latest on the ground currently in Ukraine.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've still got this 1,500-kilometre long front line in the south. Not a huge amount of movement in the last few days compared to earlier in the month. We saw Ukraine mount this very successful counter-offensive up here in Kharkiv Oblast. But if we zoom in, the city of Lyman in northern Donetsk in this area is of particular interest at the moment. That's been captured by Ukraine this morning following about 10 days of operations around the city. It's been slower going than the advances they had further to the west. But they do seem to have driven the Russians back now from that and forced them back into another position some way to the east. And this is key to starting to unlock the top end of the oblasts here, which, of course, have just been claimed by Russia. So a notable setback for Russian forces. They're putting a brave face on it and saying it was a heroic defence. But a defeat and a withdrawal is still a defeat and a withdrawal in this instance. And Ukraine is going to keep the pressure up in this area.
And what are the implications, then, of Putin annexing these 4 regions in Ukraine?
Yeah, I mean, he's putting a big line down in the sand. It's all part of this strategy to escalate, to de-escalate. We've seen that with what happened with the pipelines earlier this week. And so what a week it's been that we're talking about all this. But it's still unclear, actually, exactly what Russia's even illegally claiming. Is it the oblast boundaries you see here in black, still obviously controlled by Ukraine, or is it actually the territory they're sitting on? It does seem to be the historical area he's claiming here. So really putting a line down, making it hard for any future negotiations, saying Russia's taken this territory, we're sitting on it, and we'll defend it with everything we have.
So what does this then mean for Russia's broader military capability?
Well, we've already seen the mobilisation of, so far, 300,000 broadly unwilling-looking reservists who've been forced into action. And that, again, is a sign of Russia's desire to escalate and also the slight desperation they're in to try and make progress and to try and end this conflict on some sort of favourable terms. That was a button they've not wanted to press so far. 220 days into what was meant to be a lightning military operation. You know, it's not a sign that things are going well when you have to do this very unwilling gesture. And we're also seeing from here increased pressure probably on Ukrainian civilians as well. We're seeing that across Ukraine. But longer-range missile strikes, we saw one in Zaporizhia yesterday that killed 30 people. And civilians will continue to be targeted throughout the region as part of this as Russia builds up its troop numbers. And thanks to this referendum and seizing this territory illegally, can actually now use conscripts right to the front line. They've called 120,000 up in their latest mobilisation. That happens every 6 months. Previously, they've not legally been allowed to deploy on this operation. Now they'll be able to. So there'll be a lot more people coming. Will they be effective? Almost certainly not. But over time, it adds mass to what Russia's doing.
Absolutely. Justin, thank you very much indeed for that analysis.